like that. But like I said, we've been out here for 6 years, but the first couple of years was more of a learning experience. And if Dryden came along and said that they wanted to sponsor us, 3-4 years ago, we really wouldn't have been ready for them. We wouldn't have been able to, put out the results that they would be hoping for to really show their product off and, have their name in the headlines and stuff like that. And what's awesome is, I talk that way, and I want to be able to, have the results and show off for them. But they, Dave Klinger, Al Johnson, Gene Nace, the whole Dryden team, they're right there whether you run bad or you run good. So that's the cool thing about them, and they're race fans. They're great people, and it's awesome to be able to have somebody support you like that wants to be part of your team and believes in you, and that are also great people, and that are going to support you whether you run good or you run bad. But they'll definitely be excited when we win these big races. It's actually pretty awesome to see their texts and calls after the races when we do run good. So I hope to continue running well and be able to put out the results that they're looking for, and be able to represent them the way they want to be represented.
What does the team do when you guys aren't at the car wash or working on the car in a Walmart parking lot or wherever at a borrowed shop? What are you guys doing out there on the road, or do you try to get home to Pennsylvania or back to the shop?
Sometimes. I've been lucky enough, like I said, we got a couple guys helping us here, Ron Helmick, Ben Whitman, both helped me, and they've done a fantastic job and worked their butts off for us all the time. So I'm very lucky to have them with us, and Tyler Garber, Lucky McDonough helping Jacob. So I've been able to go home a few times. I went to the beach with my girlfriend a week or two ago with her family, and that was pretty cool. It was the first time I was at the beach, and I don't know how long, able to get in the water and stuff. I get to go to Australia over the winter, so that's pretty cool to race for John Weatherall. And I did get to go to the beach over there, but last time I was at the beach at home, I was probably a teenager, so that was pretty awesome to be able to hang out with her family like that. And, the other day, all the guys and myself, my girlfriend Summer, we all went to Snoop Dogg concert up here in Milwaukee, so that was pretty different. That was cool. Listen to some 90s hip-hop and stuff like that. So that's pretty fun, get to do some stuff like that and hang out. But if not, we park in some of the same spots as some of the other teams or the Outlaw officials, hang out with them, play some cornhole or just shoot the shit. So that's pretty cool, and it's a fun deal.
Coming up next week, we have the Brad Doty Classic on Tuesday at ASCoC, and that kicks off 5 straight days of outlaw racing between ASCoC and Eldora. So what are you looking forward to those 5 days?
I mean, honestly, it's one of the biggest races of the year, especially now with what Eldora is paying. The Brad Doty Classic, I'd like to get a better finish there at ASCoC. I've struggled there in the past. I think last year I finished 12th, and that was my best finish. So since we've been going to ASCoC with Outlaws, I mean, it's a tough deal. There's so many cars that show up there. Definitely got to qualify good when you're with the Outlaws, and ASCoC is one of those places where if you go out late, it really falls off. But it's not an excuse. Other guys make it work. You see Donnie and I think Gravel's ran good there the last 2 years. Some cars that are always running up front. So, and some very good local guys. So we just got to make it work. And I'd like to get a run there and then go back to Eldora, a place that I really enjoy going to. And we always seem to run good there in the springtime. Finish second to Donnie there in the springtime, and actually finished second to him both nights last year in the springtime. So and it looked like we were shaping up to have a good night on Saturday before it rained. So making that one up on Wednesday, and 4 straight nights at Eldora, that'll be pretty cool to me. Like I said, I look forward to going back there. So I'd like to get a good run in the big show, and also have some family coming out to that race, and that's always great to have them there.
So Donnie has won 3 straight Kings Royals, and then people mention Brad Sweet as like the top dog to dethrone Donnie, but people also mention your name as kind of like a dark horse to win this year's Kings Royal. So does that add any pressure to you?
Not at all, really. I want to win every race I go to, and like I said, I enjoy Eldora. We've ran good in the past, but I didn't run good in the Kings Royal last year for whatever reason. So but I've had a year to reflect on that and why I feel like we ran bad and what we could have done better. And but it doesn't put pressure on me. I like that. It's cool that there's fans out there that are believing that we can get the job done. Deep down, I believe that we can get it done. We just got to do make the right calls and drive a good race. So, but it's good. Other people feel that way too. So, like I said, I just look forward to going back there and hopefully we can learn something the first few nights that can put something together for Saturday and we're able to get the job done.
We're definitely looking forward to seeing you guys come to Ohio next week for the Brad Doty Classic in Attica on Tuesday. And then, of course, the Kings Royal $175,000 to win at Eldora. Jacob, do you have anything else you want to ask before we get off the phone here?
I don't have a question, more of a story, though. So back, I think this was 2017 at Let's Race 2. Me and my best friend went to, I think it was the first night of Let's Race 2 at Eldora. And he didn't know a lot about sprint car racing at that point, but you made it into the show, Logan, and he said that you were going to win. And sure enough, that night you went out and won. So we're going to make sure that he calls your win on Saturday night. So hopefully that'll be a little good luck charm.
Okay, I hope so. I hope he's right. I actually had a fan come up to me at Knoxville here a couple weeks ago, and he said he's been going there for 30 years. In the last 20, he picks the winner, and he's only been wrong 3 times. This year he's going to pick me. So, all right, I have to keep your streak up. That's good.
Oh, there you go. So 2 huge races that you're getting picked to win there. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
All right, well, we really appreciate you taking the time to get on the phone with us. We're looking forward to seeing the Shark Racing 1S here in Ohio over the next week. And until then, you guys travel safe, and best of luck to you this weekend. And we'll see you next week, Logan. Thanks.
All right, cool deal. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Talking to you.
Great conversation there with Logan. We appreciate him taking the time as he's on the move out there visiting sponsors and getting ready to race this weekend with the World of Outlaws. We're going to turn it over now to Derrick Bean so he can give you the recap from the All-Star race. Covers a little USAC and some mod updates from Illinois last week. Take it away, Derrick.
Thanks, CJ and Jacob, for having me on to recap our adventurous trip to Illinois, trying to chase down the All-Stars this past weekend. The 4 of us, my Uncle Rich, my Uncle Ron, and our buddy Chuck, took off from Quincy, Michigan, and made the long drive down to southern Illinois to Jacksonville Speedway. As we were heading down there, we decided we were going to hit a couple tracks on the way because we were making pretty good time. We ended up at Fairbury American Legion Speedway, which gained some popularity earlier this summer when Kyle Larson won the World Outlaw race there. It's a really neat looking track. It's set on a fairgrounds with the horse track around it. If you get there, you might want to sit on the back stretch, as the front stretch with the banking and the horse track has some spots where the visibility is not great. But overall, a really racy looking track, and a track I want to get to at some point. We headed down to Farmers City Raceway after that, which was actually running that night with late models and mods. Another track that had a horse track around the outside, covered stands, pretty cool looking track, and definitely a track to check out. We headed down after that to Jacksonville. As we were about an hour away, I jokingly said, it looks like it's going to rain up in Jacksonville because it was starting to get a little dark. It was a 0% chance of rain all day. Chuck brings up the radar. Sure enough, a thunderstorm heading right for Jacksonville. We continued to drive. We got 5 minutes from the track, and the rain was so bad, we actually had to pull off to the side of the highway. We finally got back on the highway, made it to the hotel just in time for the All-Stars in Jacksonville to cancel the race. We hung out in the hotel for about an hour. We decided we were going to track down another hour and a half or so down to Tri-City Speedway, which was running the Power Eye Lucas Oil War Sprints that night. They had 32 sprints checked in, and we decided to pull the trigger. We got down there to find more rain. We couldn't believe it. It was just another track that had 20% chance of rain, and it just kept tracking south, 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 and right when we got there, rain. Around 7, we figured with the forecast looking like another hour or two of rain that by 7:30 at the latest, they were going to be pulling the plug and we would be heading back to the hotel without a race. Well, right then, it just clears up and stops raining. As I said, the War Sprints had 32 cars in the pits. There were guys like Joby Miller and the Standriches who run with MOA and were scheduled to be up with the All-Stars, who'd tracked down there as well and took the wing off. The War Sprint heats were taken by Riley Crissell in Heat 1, Corey Wyant, who's the defending champion of the series in Heat 2, Zach Daum, who just dominated from 8th place in Heat 3, and then Jacob Wagner won Heat 4. In Heat 4, Mario Klauser was really moving up and hit a tractor tire. He stayed in the race, but only could fight back to 5th place, and they were taking 4. Klauser came back and dominated the B main to make it into the feature. When the feature came, Colton Cottle led the first couple of laps. Then Corey Wyant took the lead and looked like the class of the field. He was ripping high through 1 and 2 and then low in 3 and 4, just really making the track work. Crissell had gotten up into 2nd place and started chasing down Wyant. The difference with him was he was flying through 3 and 4 high. Wyant, realizing that, started to go up high and make that work as well and kind of blocked him. Mitchell Davis started 10th and was up to 3rd place. There was a caution, which at the time seemed like a good thing, so Wyant and Crissell could bunch up and maybe see if Crissell would have anything for him. But once Wyatt found the high side, everyone else pretty much just towed in line, and the race ended up just like that. Top 3 were Corey Wyant, Riley Crissell, who actually said he was running a 360 that night, and Mitchell Davis. Mario Klauser, who I talked about earlier, started 17th in the feature and wound up 4th. And then Schrudy rounded out the top 5. Another cool thing about that race, we were sticking around to watch the late models, and then they had the ump modifieds. Well, the ump modifieds did not come out 3rd like they had all night long. They ran the B mods. They ran the crate late models, and it was getting pretty late. And they made an announcement during the crate late models that there was a driver who had raced the Hell Tour race over in Terre Haute, Indiana, and due to the time change into Illinois and the late start due to the weather, was going to try to tag the rear of the ump modified race. That driver happened to be Kenny Wallace. He made it with about 10 minutes to spare and started 12th in the feature. They had 15 cars, but a couple guys elected to start behind him due to being rookies. Kenny Wallace went 12th to 5th. So our perseverance paid off with seeing the sprints and getting a little treat of seeing Kenny Wallace in the end. Day 2, we woke up in the morning and got around and headed for Jacksonville Speedway just to check it out, unfortunately, as the races were rained out the night before. We talked about this, and Jacob mentioned it last podcast, that Ken Dobson's just one of the class acts in the sport, and unfortunate that the race got rained out, and wish that track a lot of success, and hopefully I'll get back down there sometime. But another cool looking track, really, really racy looking, has the covered grandstands as well in the horse track. We headed on from there to Spoon River Speedway, and Spoon River Speedway, talk about a really cool setting. It's up kind of in the hills, mountains, whatever you want to call them. You have to go kind of up a private drive, up a hill, in the woods, and this track's just kind of cut out in the middle of nowhere. It's a really cool red looking clay track. Facilities aren't great, but good enough. And the lady came out and talked to us. She was just getting there to work, and she told us all about the track, what they run, said the owner would love to talk to us, but he was actually trying to get the pump fixed because they couldn't water the track, and it was about 90 degrees and sunny that day. So She showed us around. Really great person, really great track. If hopefully I'll get a chance to check that in sometime. They're actually running the MOA series with the Power Eye midgets later in the year if anyone wants to head over there. From there, we moved up to Peoria Speedway, another track with high banking. All these tracks that we visited were just real high banked.